10 points. Kicking?
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, good morning. It is a football Saturday, week 4 in the South. These are high holidays. A great time of the year. It's always a great time to be on the sidelines here with you, as we are every Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week. www.sidelines.live, 680thefan.com, the podcast park over in Atlanta, right across the street, literally 50 feet from the front entrance to the Braves, and also, Kicks 96.3, Alexander City, Lake Martin, Central Alabama, part of the Radio Alabama group, the great folks down there with Lee Perryman. Get involved. Go to Sylacauga. They have a world-class facility, TV studios. They have it all. Lee Perryman is the tip of the spear when it comes to media at the Radio Alabama group. Lots to talk about today. Frank Duffy joining us from down in South Florida in advance of the hurricane. Now, you're not trying to put Jim Cantori out of a job, I don't think, but he is down there where storms should be coming in, the yet unnamed storm. Jimmy Hodge is on with us from up in Lake Zurich, Illinois. Buddy Martin will join us in the second hour for the rapid fire roundtable. Kevin Scarbinsky, great veteran sports writer, Birmingham News, now the Birmingham lead, and coach safelyfoundation.org will join us here in the second segment. So we're going to be doing the rapid fire college football round table. But hey, I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to recognize a high school football player. I'm going to tell you right now, very proud of what Ben Cherry did last night. Marion beat Cook County Tech 34-8. He had 10 points last night, field goal and extra point, getting a lot done. High school football is the lifeblood, ladies and gentlemen, of college football. I want to recognize Ben Cherry. He's a good kicker. And that's Jim Cherry, son of the Cherry Farm fame in Parkin, Arkansas, Cross County, right in the middle of just amazing, absolutely incredible duck hunting. And we are counting the days, and MJ and Tanner Smith, good gosh. I mean, Jack Greer, Michael Sag, all heading over to do some work. Everybody's getting ready for duck season. It's football season. But, man, I'm going to tell you right now, we got games all over the place today. Florida, Tennessee, that's a big one. We've been talking about it all week. Texas A&M and Arkansas. Now, those games are both going to be on prime time TV tonight. Texas A&M, Arkansas, Florida, Tennessee. How are you going to do it? You're going to have multiple TVs. I know Jimmy's got a man cave set up. I'll be watching. Didn't get to go to Auburn this weekend. Ended up having to stay in Memphis. But we are broadcasting live from Red River Ford Toyota Studios in Wynne, Arkansas. Service department's already open to talk to Austin out there. They're good to go, as they are every Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And again, service department open on Saturdays, 7:30 to 12:30. Frank, let's get started, man. Look, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. LSU, they know what they've got. If there's anything else coming, hopefully it won't be severe. We also talked about Tennessee. Now they're next on the clock. What's going to happen up there? I would think they'll get credit for time served. Jeremy Pruitt is out. That guy's going to resurface because he can flat out coach and he can recruit. Whatever happened at Tennessee, we still don't know. But it was a supersized mess, is all
it was
about that. But Frank, I want to get your thoughts first off on this game with Florida and Tennessee. You're down there in Florida, in Gator Country, and Buddy Martin will be joining us in the second hour. what stands out is the biggest obstacle for Florida getting a win in Knoxville? And then I'll throw it to Jimmy to see why Tennessee gets the win. But I'll start with you,
Well,
Frank.
it's how Anthony Richardson plays. I mean, I had him against Utah in that first game. He looked like a world killer, right? Looked like he was going to get sized up for his, shining suit to go to New York to the athletic club. And then the last 2 weeks, I mean, I caught the tail end of that South Florida game, and I mean, that was a debacle. They were lucky to get out of there with their lives, and then, of course, Kentucky, just made them look real bad. So it just depends on what AR-15 you're going to get. If you're going to get the one that's shooting blanks, or you get the one that's that can shoot the eye out of a mosquito at 200 yards. That's the question. And look, Tennessee, man, they're feeling it. They're smelling it. They feel that they're back. We'll find out today. But that's a hostile environment for Florida to go into. And Billy Napier, he better have them ready to play, because they get that Rocky Top going, and if you hear it more than double-digit time, you're gonna have a bad day. So I think Florida will show up. They'll play a lot better than they did the last 2 weeks. But I don't know if they got the talent to stay with Tennessee. Jimmy and I were talking about it, late yesterday. We just, had a quick conversation. And the speed of Tennessee's defense is not going to give you those angles like you got with those Utah linebackers and the D-backs. They let AR-15 have that big run. You're not going to get that against Tennessee, an SEC speed defense. And so that's where it's going to come. And then he's got to pass it. Tennessee, Florida is one of the only 3 Division I teams that don't have a passing touchdown so far this year. So, I mean, he's going to have to play, and they're going to have to come out and not get behind. Because if you get behind and Tennessee knows you got to pass the ball, good luck.
Yeah, and I think that's – everybody talks about setting the edge, and you take away that ability for Anthony Richardson to run around on the end. And, again, after 3 games, no touchdown passes. Look at all – after 3 games, they have not gotten a turnover, their defense, after 3 games. There's some weird trends.
It really is
in this college football season. Jimmy Hodge, rapid fire roundtable. Why does Tennessee get the win tonight up in Knoxville on the hill with 300,000 people, 100,000 of them in the stadium? Why do they get that win tonight?
Because their offense is going to score too many points for Florida to be able to counter.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Math.
That offense is pretty high-powered, and of course, Hooker is well into his second solid season of a really good production. They got a really strong receiver core, and Florida's just trying to figure some things out with the new coaching staff. You got a roster that's trying to learn new schemes, and on the offensive side of the ball, the Gators have to figure out a way to get a passing attack going, because Tennessee is vulnerable in the secondary, especially at the corners. And I've got to think that Napier and his staff put together a game plan to try to exploit that and get some confidence built up in Richardson and his ability to be able to throw the ball in a hostile environment. You're going to be in a situation where there's 104,000 fans really sensing blood here. And Florida's got to come out of the gate quickly with some offensive success. Yeah, they have no touchdown passes in the first 3 games and 4 interceptions, and you can bet Tennessee's going to be using some alignments maybe that Richardson hadn't seen to try to confuse him further. So I think it's going to be a really tough slog for the Gators.
Well, that game tonight, what you say, Florida hasn't shown the ability to score with passes. I mean, that's not it. And then, Jimmy, you've talked about it a lot. The same thing the Arkansas coaches are telling their quarterback, KJ Jefferson, don't run the ball so much. But KJ loves to run it. He makes plays with his legs, but he's also throwing the ball well. Anthony Richardson, his confidence, this is his first true road game, Frank, in the SEC. You're going to Knoxville. Now, look, Florida's won. They've got this on their side. They've won 16 of the last 17 games against Tennessee, and that's all well and good. But tonight, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's in the back of their head. Tennessee fans want this game. I think this game, is it a bigger game for the Tennessee fans than it is for the Florida fans? Frank, rapid fire roundtable.
I agree. I think it is. I think this is program directionally changing for Tennessee. This game tonight. If you're really back, you get a weakened Florida team that has lots of flaws, that's still trying to find itself, and you put them away, and you put them away early. And if you do, well, okay, then Tennessee, everything we've been hearing y'all yap about in your orange and white overalls for the last 9 months, okay, we'll start believing it. But you got to take care of business tonight. And look, I agree with you, Rob. Anthony Richardson, he's going to have to set up a passing attack that's going to have to be very, very conservative. You're going to have to swing those backs out of the backfield. Jimmy and I talked about it yesterday. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to find mid-30s to keep up with the scoring machine that Tennessee is with Hendon Hooker. You've got to score a lot of points, and Florida's just not set up right now to do that. Now they might be. You might see some different looks, but I think if Tennessee comes out and they get the crowd into the game and that quick defense, and look, you got to give it to them. Pittsburgh kept coming back at them, and whatever it took, Tennessee was able not only to win but to cover. Covered by a half a point. So Tennessee's defense is going to be on display today, and you're right, Jimmy. They're going to be sending different looks at that kid. And look, and let me tell you, Rob, we saw Anthony Richardson at LSU when they came to play us. I was in Tiger Stadium in the corner, right where the Florida cheerleaders were last year on Coach O's going away game. And let me tell you something, we rattled him, and we were a shell of a team at that point. I mean, we had just gotten our ass handed to us by Kentucky, right? So he can rattle easily in an opposing stadium, and you get 109,000 rocking in General Neyland's place. Look out! This thing could turn very bad, very quick for the Florida Gators.
Yeah, now we're going to have Buddy Martin, GatorBaitMedia.com, and the Buddy Martin Show on in the second hour for about a 20-minute segment. He's really busy. He's got a lot of his guys up in Knoxville. Of course, ESPN Game Day is up there, and Mark Hamm will also join us in that second hour for the roundtable. He said there's 250,000 people, maybe 300,000 coming in. I mean, it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Now, let's switch gears, head down to Jerry's World, the Southwest Classic, Texas A&M and Arkansas.
I'm fired up about this game.
Yeah, I am too. But here's the thing, guys. These games are both on at prime time. You got to watch both of them. I mean, does it get much better than this? I mean, we're gonna have boudin, we're gonna have ribs, we're gonna have damn chicken, we're gonna be having cold beer. I mean, Jack Daniels. I mean, somebody's got to do it. We're gonna do it at the
I'm missing my man cave today, being here in Florida. Honestly, I wish I was at home, because these two games side by side are going to be must-watch TV if you're an SEC fan. Absolutely must watch.
Yeah. Even the president breaking in with a breaking news speech was not going to get the people's attention tonight. All right,
I love the Hogs tonight, man. I love the Hogs.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to start talking about. Now, Jimmy, I'm going to throw this one at you. You look at Max Johnson. He's moved into the starting quarterback role, it looks like, at Texas A&M, because Haynes King wasn't getting anything done. Max Johnson was at LSU. He led the Tigers to that come-from-behind victory in the fourth quarter to beat A&M. He goes out to A&M to play on the team where his brother is a tight end. He's a better passer. Arkansas leads the nation, I believe, at this point in sacks. And the linebacker transfer, the five-star Drew Sanders, has 5.5 sacks. Arkansas, that's what they're really good at, is, rushing the passer, sacking the quarterback. Their secondary, without that, is highly questionable. I mean, they're struggling. You've got Miles Slusher's been hurt. Jalen Catlin is out. We've ad nauseum talked about that. But here it is, game day. It's not about the matchups. It's about how you match up on the day of the game. I've set the table, Jimmy. Come in here and you tell me why Arkansas wins. You tell me why Texas A&M wins today in the Southwest Classic.
Well, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how A&M wins after looking at some of this tape of the A&M Miami game last week. I mean, their offensive line, I mean, they just did not have good technique at all.
Yeah.
And
Arkansas can sack people. They can rush.
Hey, if you would have had Bryce Young playing quarterback last week for A&M, he would have had a tough time. It would have looked like the Iron Bowl last year. You know, I mean, Max Johnson just countless times had no time to throw the ball. And also there were a number of patterns where A&M, I'm talking 3rd and long situations, were only sending 3 receivers out.
Yep.
They were leaving a chain in to try to block instead of going out as a safety valve. And he can't block anyway.
Billy, Jimmy,
So,
can I stop you? A real quick question. Frank, Tanner Smith, one of our resident members of the Cherry Farm Hunting Club from Lake Charles, and Blake said the same thing. And I want you to, Jimmy needs to know this. We all need to know this. They said it's a Sean. After, you know, they said it's not, it's like Travis Etienne. They said, no, it's a Sean. Right.
well,
Correct. Jimmy. I gotta know that.
I don't have the Cajun lingo down. I can only go by what the announcers say.
Frank, you got to tell us, man.
Hey, man. Hey, let me tell you something. We got some names, don't we, down here?
Oh boy,
Jimmy, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we got to get that correct.
No. And well, it's like also ETN. You know how you say
Sean.
that Cajun. You know.
Baby. But Jimmy, you know, here's the thing. Look at the pressure that Arkansas is getting on people. I think they're number 1 in the country in sacks, aren't they?
They are.
Pressures, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look.
I think Texas A&M is last in giving them up.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody, hold these thoughts. We're on a roll right now. We've got Cajun Man and Cajun Man's cousin, and we're at the we are at the intersection of frustration. So we'll be right back with more on the Rapid Fire Roundtable on this beautiful Saturday morning. God bless America. Be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here on this Saturday morning Rapid Fire Roundtable with Jimmy Hodge and Frank Duffy. And I'll tell you one thing, this is a great collection of minds. And Jimmy, you just pointed it out going into the break and about that Texas A&M offensive line. And again, App State with 1 4-star player on the team, nothing above that, the rest of them below that.
Right.
Goes out and runs the ball down A&M's throat in College Station with a team with 56 guys on the roster ranked 4 or 5 stars.
We couldn't stop them.
Yeah. And so, Jimmy, carry on. Can try to convince us why A&M wins this game, and then sell us on why the Hogs do. As I'm being looked at through the window in the studio here on the trading floor at Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas. Everybody, by the way, is wearing red. Everybody in here is like going, good Razorback morning. It's like unbelievable.
Silly.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, if A&M's offensive line is able to fix some things within a 7-day period, like Alabama was able to do between the 7 days that ended at the Iron Bowl and then leading up to the SEC championship game. Then if they can get time to throw the ball, we all know the Arkansas secondary is not very good.
Yeah.
If they get Slusher back, though, that's going to help a lot. But Catalan is irreplaceable. You've got to be able to give Matt Johnson time to throw the ball. You've got to get Nia Smith involved in the vertical passing game, and you got to get A-Chain involved in the passing game. Get him out in the flat. Just get him out in open space because he's got world-class speed. But from what I've seen up to this point, I just think Arkansas defensively is going to be too much for A&M to handle, especially up front, because Barry Odom's going to be moving those guys around every play and put Drew Sanders in a different spot every play, and you have to know where Drew Sanders is lined up on every play. And by the way, Mel Kiper has him on his big board listed as the number 3 player in the SEC in regard to where he thinks he's going to be picked on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL.
You can't argue with it.
No, you can't. Another text just came in from down in the Mississippi Delta from the commander, Alan Ferguson, friend of mine up in Memphis. 32 years in the Naval Reserve, multiple deployments. God love him.
For your service.
People. Absolutely. He says, guys, this is a Mississippi boy telling y'all this, but it is absolutely a Sean. I mean, so I'm afraid we got a bunch of Lake Charles boys in the hunting club. Hey, you don't want to mispronounce that name. It's a Sean.
Yeah, you mispronounce those names, you wind up in a crab trap out in the Zalmans.
That's right, down there by where Coach O lived, Bayou Lafourche.
Yeah,
Jimmy, you just nailed it about A&M and Arkansas. And I think about Arkansas, what they're really good too is they have got an offensive line that's played together. I bet you collectively they've got over 150 starts, those guys. I mean, it's a veteran group. And you think about Rocket Sanders. I don't know if y'all saw Sam Pittman. He's just one of the people love this guy again because he's authentic. He was asked why Rocket Sanders is playing running back. Did y'all see that? He said, well, somebody got hurt in practice, and so we gave him a chance. And that happens a lot. But I like Arkansas in this game. But whenever guys, I'll throw this to you, Frank. Everybody can't be right at the same time. I see this in the stock market all the time. That's why
game.
Yeah, everybody can't be right at the same time, and it's always darkest before dawn. A&M look awful on the offensive line. And Arkansas they've been leading the nation to this point in quarterback sacks.
Yep.
What do you think Arkansas is saying about this game? And Jimbo, he loves to be a control freak, loves to call the plays. Is he going to let someone else have more input because they're an open book?
You got to put your ego. You got to put your ego on hold, right? You got to. I mean, if it's not working, and let me tell you, I watched that App State game. Man, Texas A&M looked just disheveled. They wasn't crisp, and they couldn't stop App State. So I think you're going to see Arkansas's defense play as well as it did. But here's the thing, Rob, you just touched on it. Look at the offensive line of the Hogs. They were blowing holes into that South Carolina defensive line. That's where I think the game's going to be won. It's going to be on the Hogs' offensive side, and I don't think Texas A&M's defense can stay with them. Those big boys start opening up holes, and they start getting chunks of yardage on the ground. It's going to be a long day for Texas A&M.
Yeah, and it will be. And now there are other games going on. I tell you one outside of the SEC. Kevin Scarbinsky is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. But Jimmy, got to ask you about this one. Clemson and Wake Forest. First time in a long time these two teams have played. Both of them are ranked. Wake Forest, it's been a month of Sundays since they got a win over a top 5 team in the ACC. What do you think is going to happen when these two kick off today? Because that's look, SEC, ACC, AAC, Sun Belt, Big 12. We love college football. That's what we love to talk about on this show. Jimmy, you got a mind. Let's go.
I would not be surprised to see Wake Forest win this
Yep.
game. They're playing in Winston-Salem,
Yep.
and Clemson is still struggling offensively. And, Uyunglele is really –
Say that again.
No,
BJU, baby.
I'm not going to do it for your benefit until you write it down on
Jimmy,
how you're supposed to pronounce
I'm not here to entertain you.
DJ.
So,
There we go.
For you, it's DJU.
Okay.
So, he needs to, get this offense going, because otherwise they're going to have to make a move to the freshman clubnet. But I see Wake Forest winning this game because Sam Hartman is back, and this is his third game back, and he really looked like he hadn't missed any time at all. He's really been impressive. I'm going to go with Wake here.
Jimmy, I got him. Jimmy, I got him too, and I got him on the money line. I think they win this thing outright.
Yeah, and then you've got Baylor at Iowa State. A big game for Matt Campbell and the Cyclones. It's a conference game. Baylor, a couple of weeks ago, went up to BYU, and despite the fact the Cougars were playing without their two top wide receivers, they got it done against Baylor in overtime. So this is a really interesting game in the Big 12. And you've got, think about this, guys. Tell me one college football fan in the country that would have said a month ago that when Duke plays Kansas and Lawrence today, that both teams would be 3-0.
Yeah, and
how about Vanderbilt?
Hey, let me Frank, let me give Jimmy credit. Jimmy, you've been so high on Lance Leipold for a long time. I listened to an interview taped earlier this morning on Sirius XM. Lance Leipold is going to make somebody a great coach. He's making Kansas right now. They're 3-0.
Yeah.
They sold within a few hours of that last win over 10,000 tickets. And he said they're trying to tap into that energy at the Fog Allen Fieldhouse where it all began. Bill Self, obviously they're the defending national champions right now until the NCAA says otherwise. But
and Les Miles kind of left them a mess.
Yeah, he did. And here they are. They went on the road and won at Houston. They won at West Virginia, and they're playing. Jimmy, you couldn't have said it better. Who would have thought Duke and Kansas, and that's a basketball game. Now, this is a football game, and it's their first sellout in 3 years, and people, I think they're going to be scalping tickets out there. Scalping tickets in Lawrence, Kansas. Next thing you know, kids in the streets of the Mississippi Delta towns like Greenville and Greenwood are going to start playing ice hockey.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, guys, let me tell you about this as an amazing stat. This will be Lance Leipold's 16th game as head coach at Kansas. He has already won more road games than the previous 5 Kansas coaches combined.
Say that again, Jimmy, so people, because there are people out there who brought his name up. They said, well, so what? He did stuff at D3 and Buffalo, but he wouldn't know how to win at a place like Auburn.
Yeah, he won at Austin last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He has won more road games in 15 attempts at Kansas than the previous 5 Kansas head coaches combined.
That's unbelievable. Crazy. That is a statistic that is powerful. And the people, and one thing Kansas has, Jimmy, you've been there. They got a lot of money. Again, multi-billion-dollar endowment.
Yeah.
They and Jimmy, you ever been to a game at the Fog, basketball game?
No, I've been inside the Fog, but no, I have not been to a basketball game there.
Do you think today before kickoff when they play Duke, they'll be going rock chalk?
Yeah. They better be putting sandbags around Fog Allen to keep that national championship that they just won from being vacated.
Yeah, well, the Kansas weren't they the Kansas City Jayhawks?
Hey, in honor of playing Duke, I figured they might just put together a temporary basketball court at midfield there, and
Pull a rock out, baby.
play a half between Kansas and Duke alumni players,
Good God.
just to get into the mood, and make sure that you're not in the twilight zone, that this is a football game between 2 3-0 teams involving these schools.
And speaking of
amazing.
And speaking of surprising records, look at Vanderbilt. And here was the best part. I bet them to win. The over and under on Vanderbilt was regular season wins was 2.5. I've already won my bet. We're only in week 4. They're 3-1. It's crazy. Now they're coming back to earth, obviously playing Alabama. Yeah. But I mean, who would have thought? This has been just already started to be a wacky college football year. But when you've got like App State going in there and winning, I mean, it's just, and that's the beauty of college football, right? I mean, yeah. It's almost kind of like the field of 64, only that we get it every week. Something strange is going to happen.
That's why Kevin Scarbinsky's on with us right now. And you talk about someone who can put all this stuff in perspective. It's like going on a road trip to dives, drive-ins, and diners with Guy Fieri or whatever. Kevin Scarbinsky's like that with college football. The story all began in the tiny Pennsylvania town of Pottsville. It then came south to Troy University, where he graduated. He got a master's at the University of Florida, covered the Auburn Tigers, and wrote for the Birmingham News for 35-plus years. Now with the Birmingham League and the CoachSafelyFoundation.org with Jack Crow. Folks, this ain't about making football a soft game. It's about making it a safer game so players can go out there and learn how to be more physical, more tougher, and to keep kids playing college football. And I'm going to tell you something. Ain't a city in America like Birmingham, Alabama. That Monday Morning Birmingham Quarterback Club, unbelievable what they do. Kevin Scarbinsky, you're right there. You are on the ground in Birmingham. We're going to, as they say, we're going to let you wax eloquently about college football because we're all ears. And we've even learned how to pronounce the name Etienne down from any player from Louisiana. It's Ashawn.
Good morning, guys.
Hey,
I talked to Bill Clark I talk to Bill Clark every Monday morning, and former UAB coach, and we go over the weekend. He gives me his perspective, breaks things down from a coach's standpoint. And last week, he was so excited because the running game was so important last week, including right here in Birmingham, where UAB ran up and down the field on Georgia Southern, which had beaten Nebraska the week before. Yeah. UAB, hey, by the way, guys, UAB has a running back, Dwayne McBride, top 5 running back in America right now. He ran for 223 last week. He ran for 200 something at Liberty the week before. The guy is legit. And Bill Clark said, we always used to say to our players, toughness is not a cuss word. It's not it is a good thing in the sport of football. And so that's something, no matter how high flying and fancy your offense may be, no matter how well you maybe throw the ball up and down the field, you still have to have a toughness up front, especially in the SEC, if you're going to compete for championships.
Oh, no doubt. And Bill Clark, I think I heard you say he's out of coaching right now. He had the back surgery, and I hope he gets back into coaching. Just looking what he's done at UAB, and he's got a track record of success everywhere. But
good man.
Hey, man, if you ever want to bring him on the show for the Roundtable, we would love to have him on a show with us, because the man is passionate about college football. And, there are only so many coaches like that in the country. And Kevin, I like the way you talk about UAB, Georgia Southern, Liberty. College football needs to be good in every part of the country. Now, your home state, Penn State, someone sent me a meme of a bunch of Amish buggies in a caravan heading to Auburn, and I was going, well,
with baseball bats in the back.
Yeah, I didn't think the Amish were a rough crowd, but I was at that game the other day, and holy cow, man, you could sit anywhere you wanted at Jordan-Hare. In the fourth quarter, there were so many empty seats. That can't happen. But let's get your report card, the aftermath of that game. You're kind of like an insurance adjuster showing up after a Cat 5 hurricane just hit land.
Yeah. My report card on Auburn would be not safe for work. It was not pretty in any stretch of the imagination. It's just that second half, the way that Penn State completely owned the place
Crazy.
in that second half was just I don't know, guys. I'm still trying to rack my brain. The last time I saw a team, especially in Jordan Hare, just completely embarrass Auburn that way, and especially a team not named Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time flashing back to that. I talked to. It's funny how when a game like that occurs, I'll get phone calls from former Auburn players who are just beside themselves.
Yeah.
That could be happening to their former
You
program.
almost got to go back to that Georgia Tech game. That's how long ago it was.
A lot of people were flashing back to the 1980 Tennessee game.
That's what I've been saying.
Which was really the Tennessee just completely undressed Auburn, and that was really the end of Doug Barfield and ushered in what would become the Pat Dye era, which was one of the best things maybe the best thing that ever happened to Auburn football. Probably was the best thing that happened to Auburn football. And it certainly appears, you can remember games when you just knew the point where the majority of people, even the true believers, the people who will support and should support the coach, the program, no matter how well things are going,
Kevin,
or how well they're not going.
Hold those
and
thoughts.
that was the game for Brian Harsin.
Yeah.
That was the game.
Hold those thoughts, and we're going to come back after this quick break. Sidelines on a Saturday, talking college football with the Rapid Fire Roundtable.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
I'm back here with you on this Saturday morning Sidelines Rapid Fire Roundtable. Jimmy Hodge, Frank Duffy, Kevin Scarbinsky. Got to love folks like our sponsors, Chad House, ECS House Industries, Inc. We dig the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. That's one of their slogans. Great people. Check out your House Industry dealer wherever you are. Riding around this morning, coming into the Red River Ford Toyota broadcasting studios. Farmers, they've been working, guys, they work about 18 hours a day. There's no more, it's dark, we're going in. They got lights on there, but they've got TVs in those tractors. They've got stereo, they got AM, FM. I don't know if they have 8 tracks, but they got everything but the record player. Kevin, continue on. You were making so many great points about, I was at that game Saturday. One of my sons was there with a bunch of friends, and I said, you know what? I always expect the team to play a full 60. I always stay a full 60. I'm not leaving. He said, damn right. I'm not either. It was tough to watch. But what I look for at the end of a game like Penn State, Auburn, I look for players that are fighting and scratching and clawing on every play to the bitter end. And I look for guys that have just laid down and quit. And personally, I don't think they should be allowed to ever again wear the Auburn jersey or any team. Because what you do at the end of a game, especially like getting your butt kicked by Penn State like that, that determines and sets up how you practice that week and you play the next week. And if it's still bothering you, that team's going to beat you 2 weeks in a row, Kevin.
Well, suddenly the Missouri game, which I think most people chalked as a W before the season, and even now there are a lot of people, just assuming, well, they will beat Missouri, right? It's that they can't play that poorly 2 weeks in a row, and Missouri is not Penn State. Well, now there's got to be a little concern this morning. Can they do that to Missouri? Can they handle Missouri? I mean, what's the confidence level of that team? And so much has changed. Again, there are those landmark games, those watershed games that are turning points in a history of a program, and it really looks like that may be that one for Auburn. The quarterback situation now it was already not pretty. Now it's a complete. You've got two guys out, DJ Finley, of course, and I guess we got the explanation for why Zach Calzada had not played yet when they clearly had not established themselves at quarterback. He's going to have surgery. A number of people, good reporters, have reported that he's going to be out for the year. He's opting for surgery. So now you've got Robbie Ashford, who's more of a Nick Marshall type. He's more of a runner-first quarterback who can throw the ball, but very little experience. And then you've got the freshman who hasn't taken a snap yet. So that's not a position of confidence that you can walk
But
into.
Ashford might have the most upside potential.
Yeah. Well, as
You're
they
right.
say,
You're right.
What's not to like? I mean, yeah. And I can tell you, I did not have a lot of confidence going into that game because, the quarterback situation. Pat Dye said one time, Cam Newton, why he was the greatest player he'd ever seen versus Bo Jackson. He said, well, Bo's the greatest athlete, no question. But a quarterback like Cam Newton or any quarterback, he touches the ball every snap. Yeah. And when you got someone who can do that, that's critical. So, Kevin, looking at the big picture in the SEC to this point, Georgia, and maybe I'm going out on a limb saying this, but they look better at this point than they did last year. And my biggest concern about Georgia, when you're that loaded as a team, was last year Stetson Bennett IV was really never asked to go out and, hey, you got to win this game for us, because he had that defense backing him. This year I thought there'd be 2 or 3 times during the season where he would have to do that. Well, 2 things. The defense looks to be right where they left off, as hard as it is to believe.
Amazing.
And Stetson has upped his game a little bit. What do you think?
Oh, there's no doubt. To me, this year, he looks somewhat like Mac Jones in his incredible season in 2020 at Alabama. He's the guy who you never expected him to be that kind of a playmaker, that kind of a difference maker, and the offense to be so aggressive and almost unstoppable.
You didn't need him to be, but it's a big plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And against a pretty decent schedule so far. I mean, look at what Oregon has done since playing Georgia. Yeah. And Bo Nix has been good Bo ever since he got away from the Georgia defense.
Yeah.
South Carolina is not a terrible football team. They're not there yet by any stretch, but that's an SEC opponent that was so geeked up. That whole fan base, that city was geeked up for that game.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes. Georgia put him to sleep in a real hurry.
Yeah.
So they look legit. And guys, is there a better football player at what he does in the country than Brock Bowers is at what he does?
No.
That dude's scary good.
Yeah. And Stetson Bennett IV is college football's version of Happy Gilmore. I mean, he's having fun and he's a winner, and he's a small town Blackshear, Georgia kid. And you're going to read a lot about him in Lauren Smith's book about this most recent. I got a feeling Lauren may be having to hold up in such places as St. Simons and Sea Island, Georgia, while he writes another book about this team, because he spent a few days down in Blackshear in the offseason with Stetson Bennett. This is just your classic college football story, Kevin. And all right, Kevin, keep going. I'm sorry.
It definitely is. And you know who, and of course now the consensus has been that Georgia has nosed ahead of Alabama, and certainly they've looked better so far this season, but that's better is relative. Those two teams have separated themselves clearly, not just in the SEC, but nationally. Ohio State's not at that level. Michigan's not at that level. USC, Clemson, whoever you want to name, no one else is at that level. And what Kirby has done, and I know our friend Paul Feinbaum had an interesting take last week saying that Georgia is the new Alabama. And of course, I think that was a bit of hyperbole on his part. The old Alabama isn't going anywhere. Yeah. Hasn't gone anywhere. But what Georgia has done is finally find the right coach to unlock the potential that program's always there. That was always there. A national power with their recruiting base, their passion for football at that school and in that state. They've got the right guy now. And now it's 1A, 1B, however you want to look at it. But those two are above and beyond everybody else right now.
And Kevin, we talked with Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers yesterday, and he's a truth broker. I used to ask him a question. Hey, does the dress make me look fat? You betcha. It does. I love him. Alabama Sports Writer of the Year. You know him, and that's
Jason's great. Yeah,
listen,
Jason's great.
As many great sports writers as there have been throughout history in the state of Alabama, that's being a Heisman winner. And so and Jason, you can't get him to come off his stance. I asked him about the recruiting. It's a generationally incredible year for talent in the state of Alabama this year. He says the state of Alabama is where the state of Georgia was 10 years ago. They're producing about 250 Division I players a year in Georgia now out of high school, fourth most in the country. Alabama is around 150, which is number 6 in the country, just over 5 million people in the Yellowhammer State. And we talked about this. There are 22 4-star players in the state of Alabama this year, 7 5-stars. In the entire United States, there are only 33 players ranked 5-star this year out of roughly 3,300 that will sign with Division I schools.
It's a huge year.
The top 10 players is Auburn in on. How many of the top 30? He said, well, all of the top 10 are committed elsewhere, except for the 2 kids at Montgomery Carver, both 5-stars. Auburn's still in the mix with those guys. But after that, you've got Jeremiah Cobb, the running back in Montgomery, number 15 in the state, and you got a number 23 or 24 ranked player in the state. And then we go back to Harsin and the staff. Where were they at the Georgia High School Football Coaches Convention last year? When you hear stories like this, Kevin, Pat Dye is turning in his grave hearing stuff like that. How are you going to win? Look, it's tough enough having to deal with Alabama in your own state, but Lee County, those of you that are geographically challenged, it's on the Georgia line on the Chattahoochee.
And Rob, when you are working it, you have a weekend like last weekend. There was a lot of recruits there at Auburn.
There were 35 of the top players around, and you just take a giant, Sasquatch on the field. That doesn't help you. But Kevin, go ahead.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion this week in particular. Was Bryan Harsin doomed from the start? Was he the wrong choice from the start? And probably, yes, in different degrees on both fronts, because he didn't come in there. Forget anything that happened after he got there. Forget how he got there. Forget the fact that he didn't have the support of some of the big mules who wanted, they wanted to transition for a short period of time, let Kevin Steele take over as head coach. Forget all of that. Bryan Harsin didn't walk in there with the mentality that you wake up every day and you think every second of every day about recruiting. How does this decision affect recruiting? How does that decision affect recruiting? Yeah. Because every decision you make affects recruiting. That's the way Nick Saban exists. That's the way Kirby Smart operates. Bryan Harsin did not walk in there with that mentality. That was not the way he operated at Boise, where they generally had better talent than everyone in their league. He had an arrogance about him that he could outcoach people. Maybe he could outwork people. No, not in this league. That's not the way you win in this league.
Gotta have the horses.
He was the wrong choice from the start because of his approach to coaching football, which might work at other places, and it did work at Boise very well. It's not going to work at Auburn. It's not going to work anywhere in the SEC.
Well, totally agree. Yeah, Kevin, we heard a great story. Buddy Martin, GatorbaitMedia.com. He'll be on in the next hour for a few minutes with us for the roundtable. He said when Charlie Pell became the head football coach at Florida in 1979. Remember that first year? I do. They were 0-10-1, but 1980 they went 8-4. It was the greatest turnaround at that time in college football history, and I think they beat Maryland in the Tangerine Bowl that year, 23-22. But he met a man named Ben Hill Griffin, pretty wealthy man. He was the big daddy. Old country boy. And you know what he did? He went down and he sat on the front porch with Mr. Ben Hill Griffin. And they didn't say much, but Ward Pell, his widow, she was on the show with us last year. That was one of the coolest. Jimmy, you were on there when we were talking to her. It was absolutely incredible. And she said, Charlie went down there and Buddy Martin said the same thing. He just sat on that front porch and they sat in a rocking chair on a Sunday afternoon and they ate swamp cabbage. Okay. That's just, out in the country down in Florida and didn't say a whole lot. And I got through and Mr. Ben Hill Griffin said, Charlie, I like you. And he wrote him the biggest check in history of Florida athletics. That's how you do it. You want to make it. Look, I got a lot of clients who live out in the country, Kevin, that I've been working with the last 31 plus years. Let me tell you something. You go out there for lunch, you're going to eat sliced tomatoes with salt on them, and you better learn about pot liquor.
That's
and
right.
You better learn how to say fixing. Okay. Now up in Pennsylvania, you say Ewins or use guys or Utes, but you got to know the lay of the land. And think about Coach Dye. Kevin, nobody can make this stuff up. You need to write a book. You really do. I was there, and that's what I would call it. But think about Coach Dye. Rodney Garner said when he came to recruit him out of Leeds, and he was Charles Barkley's cousin from Leeds, Alabama. Rodney Garner was a top 5, top 10 player in Alabama. Rodney Garner said, Coach Dye came, we cooked dinner, we didn't have a big house, we were proud of what we had, but we didn't have anything. We were like going, I hope he likes us. After dinner, you know what Coach Dye did? He went in the kitchen, rolled his sleeves up, and washed dishes. I mean, you got to be authentic. Sam Pitt, why is he succeeding? Why is Kirby Smart gets in an F-150 and drives all over the state of Georgia, and they relate to him because he's never forgotten where he's come from, Kevin? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And your story that you wrote this week, you are to journalism what Michelangelo was to the fresco. I'm just saying that. You're a great writer.
Wow, I'm really at a loss for words, but I think I'm there right now. Thank you, Rob. That's you're too kind. But you're right, though. It's either and look, Brian Harsin didn't come from here. He doesn't understand. He didn't understand Southern football.
Correct.
And still doesn't appear to understand Southern football. And then you also, Nick Saban didn't grow up in the Deep South either. But you can learn to read the room, if you will, to use a modern phrase. Brian Harsin has never, in the time he's been at Auburn, has not figured out how to read the room. And that's why, in one sense, he was doomed from the start because he wasn't the right guy to come in there and unlock the potential that Auburn has. Someone else asked me this week, how good a job is Auburn really? And I said, okay, look at it this way. Well, first of all, I've talked to coaches who have worked there, who've worked a lot of different places, and they tell me consistently Auburn has everything you need to be successful, to compete for championships. And in the greatest era in the history of not just Alabama football, but college football, with your chief in-state rival having, setting a new bar for consistent excellence, Auburn has won one national championship and played for another in that same era. Yeah. So you can get it done, but it starts with players. And it ends with players. And Kirby, I love Kirby. How many times have we heard Kirby say, "You're not out coaching talent"? I don't care how good a coach you are. He said not long ago. You're not out coaching talent. You're just not. Yeah. And Brian Harsin didn't figure that out. Didn't come in there with that mentality. And if he doesn't understand it today, he's not a real intelligent individual. But anyway, it's not at this point. It's too late. There's no hope. As you said, one of the best recruiting classes coming from the state of Alabama. I don't think they have a top 15 commitment in that group. They lost their top commitment from the state, a wide receiver from Central Phoenix City. He decommitted in the last week. So yeah, it's all going wrong. And at that point, it's just a case of play for pride, play for the school, play for your teammates. And for the guys behind the scenes, go find the right guy. Go get the right guy this time.
Yeah. And we're about to go to a break because I know Jimmy's got some questions for you, but Kevin, you just said it. And is it fair to say, and I will never pull from my school ever want them to lose.
Yeah.
I love
the
school, and I never leave. I always stay the full 60. I was taught that by my parents. And you got a right to leave a game. I understand it, but I still go back to that Seinfeld episode. What is it about everybody? Everybody's talking about when are we going? When are we going? Okay, we got to go. When are we go? We get there. When are we leaving? It's like, you know what? Stay the whole game. Don't sit there with your arms folded on your butt and just complain. If you're going to complain, you better offer a solution. That's rule number one when you go into any kind of a meeting. I'd hate to say, but it sounds like Brian Harsin at Auburn, the respirator's on, the priest is at the bedside, and they're calling the relatives to say goodbye. I mean, but can you feel sorry for a coach that no matter what is going to walk away with at least $15 million in a buyout? It's not like he's going to have no money, and everybody's going to say, let's get together and take some food over there and some sandwiches because they got 5 youngins. We got to take. It isn't like that anymore. These guys now have generational wealth, and they abscond with that money, and it's basically malpractice the people that installed him as a coach.
And Joe will be having frozen margaritas on 30A.
Yeah. I mean, he'll be laughing when he leaves and stuff, but we're going to come back with more. Kevin Scarbinsky, Jimmy Hodge has got some questions for you, Kevin, when we come back. Frank Duffy down there trying to put George Plimpton, the Bon Voyant, out of a job. He looks like Jim Cantori. We'll be right back with more.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back with this rapid fire roundtable on Saturday Sidelines. Jimmy Hodge, Frank Duffy, Kevin Scarbinsky, and our good friend Maury Gaston from the Marble Town, Sylacauga, just texted me and said, guys, I don't know what you want to read into this, but I just saw Jim Cantori doing a live shot out in front of Jordan-Hare Stadium. But I digress.
Oh, my Lord. They're piling on now.
But anyway, Jimmy, jump into this one now before Larry Bud Melman comes out and sings the national anthem.
Yeah. Jokes write themselves.
That's right.
Well, yeah, Kevin, the first thing I wanted to do, though, before I add on to some of the things you said regarding what Harsin did and didn't do right after taking the job. But when you talk about Saban, his ability to a West Virginia guy to, coach in the South at LSU and Alabama and to be such a great recruiter and closer. And then when you think about the fact a Southern guy like Bobby Bowden was able to go up to West Virginia and fit in so well there. I wanted to ask you, being a Pennsylvania native, would it be fair to call West Virginia the Rust Belt version of, let's say, a poor man's version of the South?
Oh, absolutely. I had the privilege to I covered one game at West Virginia. Auburn played. You guys will remember this. I know, Rob, you'll remember this. In Tommy Tuberville's speaking of swan songs, Tommy Tuberville's last season at Auburn, they played a road game at West Virginia.
Thursday night.
Oh my goodness. Holy cow. And I remember it was so cold. Tommy was wearing a parka. And this is how, when things go wrong, when things get to the point of no return, Tommy was wearing a parka. And it wasn't really Auburn's shade of orange. It was more like a orange, Texas orange. And Auburn fans were upset about that. At that point, it was he couldn't do it. He could do nothing right, So West Virginia. But what a passionate fan base. That place, man. You better buckle it up when you walk into Morgantown, West Virginia to play. And Morgantown reminded me a lot of Pottsville, where I grew up. A smaller town. Fierce people with a fierce pride in their community and in their state. Just a cool play. Really, if you ever get a chance, if you've never been there, put that on your bucket list. That's a cool place to watch a game.
Well, our good friend Pete Cordelli's from Neshaminy, home of the Redskins up there. I mean, you talk about and Jimmy, you're right about West Virginia though. But I've been all over that state. It's, to me, it's just like the South. I mean, you talk about a picking and a grinning and sitting on the front
state.
It is absolutely, and they got the Golly and the New River. They have 6 Class 5 rapids on the New River.
Fantastic! I've been down that. That's great. That's great rafting.
And Jimmy, everybody that grew up there with Nick Saban in West Virginia in his town loved the guy because he was a working class. He never forgot where he came from. I think that's why he's a great recruiter, Jimmy.
And he communicates with people. But Kevin, when you talked about when Harsin took the job, you're exactly right. It's way too late. But you have to know immediately when to the east, you're 13, 14 miles from the Georgia border. You're 45 minutes from Phoenix City, Columbus. You have to know that you have to develop relationships in a hurry with those iconic high school coaches in Alabama and in Georgia that are within a 200 square mile radius of Auburn. And it's just dumbfounding to me why he didn't consider that important. I mean, it's absolutely critical. And then, like I said, by the time you realize it and try to make corrections, it's too late. And then another factor, and I talk about it with Jason Caldwell all the time, with these modern day recruits, in addition to, what the state of your program is right now, they want to know what your history has been in recent years of developing players to be ready for the NFL. And that's where Auburn has really been hurting there. So they've got to develop a history of developing NFL players at various positions, because these recruits are going to want to know, hey, what guys that play my position have you guys developed into NFL players if you're good enough?
These kids don't know Auburn beat Alabama 6 in a row. They don't know that.
Yeah. And look, we know what who Bo Jackson was, what he meant to Auburn, what he meant to college football. To 15, 16, 17-year-olds now, Bo Jackson doesn't resonate like
YouTube commercial.
Guys at Alabama and Georgia, the assembly line of guys that they're sending into the NFL. That's who resonates with these guys. And they see those players not only in uniform, but making an impact in NFL games. Like the catch George Pickens made the other night, the ridiculous catch that George Pickens from Hoover, who played at Georgia, of course, made. That's what those guys are seeing on Instagram, and that's the stuff that they're watching, those highlights. And how are you going to help me get there?
Yeah, Kevin.
And that's the question that Kirby Smart can answer again and again and again with example after example. Nick Saban can answer. Brian Harsin cannot.
Kevin, I'll tell you something wild. Rex Castillo and Jack Patterson, WRBL Channel 3 in Columbus, up on 13th Street. That's where I worked my first 2 years out of college. That's where I met Reese Davis and Roger Manus, I worked with them for 2 years. On a Thursday and Friday night, the high school football coverage 75 to 100 miles around the Bi-Cities. By the way, Jimmy, because my first 6 weeks when I started working at Channel 3, I lived in Auburn with a friend. It's 32 minutes from where I lived in Auburn to Columbus, and Phoenix City's before that. It's even closer than you think. And I'll tell you something else. They said last year there's so much talent right there within a stone's throw of Auburn's campus. They in the Auburn-Georgia State game last year, they counted 41 players on those two teams that they had covered regularly in their high school careers. Yeah. If you're not winning at Auburn, I mean, bottom line, you're not trying, because there's talent everywhere. You've got 3-star. I mean, again, look at this generationally incredible class you have in state. And who do you get? Lance Leipold. You get Hugh Freeze. I mean, who do you go get? You better get you an athletic director, someone like John Hartwell, who's at Utah State, who's from Mobile, who would crawl from Utah to Auburn, be the athletic director. He's a Citadel graduate. You think that guy isn't mentally tough, Kevin? I mean, but they've got it. Kevin, you've seen it before. Right now, and I say this very seriously, Auburn is in a situation, Poland 1939. Yeah. You've got on the east, Georgia and is Russia. On the west, Alabama with Nick Saban. I mean, these two power countries that are going to run through your country to get at each other. And if you don't stand up and fight and start recruiting and getting with it, you're about to open up a $91 million football-only facility.
And your friends on the Western Front can't get supplies to you because we can't make it through Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and you got and right now, I'm gonna tell you what Auburn is right now. Auburn's Sergeant Schultz, the Russian front, nothing. I'm tired of being Sergeant Schultz.
And then Hogan.
Clean.
Yeah, and those locations are having their borders protected by shark-infested moats.
Yeah,
Correct.
but Kevin, try to make some sense. We're going to have you be our Bob Newhart right now. We're all laying on the couch. Help us out, Kevin, because you know how to put this stuff in the vernacular like nobody else.
Well, first of all, as someone of Polish descent, your analogy hits home far too close to home in my historic heart.
Yeah.
As a proud descendant of Polish ancestors, I know all too well of what you speak.
No, but
from
I'm
World
saying
War II. But that's a great.
Yeah.
But it's really the apt. It's really. I know we say football's not war, of course, but that is an apt analogy. It certainly is an apt analogy of where Auburn finds itself right now. And there's always been that great debate. You guys remember, Jimmy, especially, there was about Alabama. People said, well, you got to get a coach who's an Alabama guy, a Bear Bryant guy. Not necessarily, but you have to have someone who either has some familiarity with the territory or the ability to grasp it and adapt to it quickly, like Nick Saban moving from Michigan State to LSU. Yeah. He figured that out pretty quickly, didn't he?
Our best recruiting class, Kevin, our best recruiting class was 2001 in LSU's history. It was Saban's second year.
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin, well, I'll tell you this. I don't see any Alabama fans wanting to give back those national championships that Frank Thomas brought them.
No, that's right. That's right. So there's not one special point-by-point blueprint that say this is the kind of guy that works. No, what you need to know, though, is you have to understand, you have to know the territory. If you don't come in knowing the territory, you got to learn the territory. You got to be adaptable and understand it and grasp it. And you have to be authentic about it. And that's another thing. And remember, you guys remember when Terry Bowden came to Auburn, he would come up with these slogans and they all had the letters AU in them, and authentic was one of them. Yeah. And he would throw these words, audacious was another one. And so he would throw all these words out there. Authentic, I think, and this is where, and you made a great point, Rob, about being in the living room with the families when you're recruiting. You better, they know if you're authentic or not. They know if you're giving them a sales pitch. They know if you're real. And Nick Saban is real. Kirby Smart is real.
And speaking of Pat Dye, when Pat Dye came to speak to the Touchdown Club of Atlanta, almost every one of his stories was about the authenticity of being in recruits' homes on the trail back in the 80s, where he made his bones. That was Pat Dye who brought those stories up. That's how important it was for him to be on the road in people's homes, and having that connection with their families to get them to come to the Plains.
Well, it will go down as one of the biggest mistakes in Auburn history. And you guys will remember in 2012, when they fired Gene Chizik, they interviewed Kirby Smart.
Oh yeah.
And now, would Kirby have actually taken the job? He was. But I will tell you this: Terry Saban told me at the time that they were giving Kirby and his wife advice on what to look for and what to ask for in the contract. That's how serious it was at one point. And Auburn wasn't willing to do some things that Kirby wanted. There was the NCAA investigation going on at the time. He wanted full disclosure on what was happening. He wanted to stay through Alabama's national championship game. Auburn didn't like that idea. So there were some serious gaps in agreement that they could not cross. But the and the people say, well, he would have left for Georgia at some point when Mark Richt didn't work the way Georgia wanted him to work. So maybe so. But you had a chance to get a generational talent as a head coach, and you didn't. And, and they are where they are.
Kevin, the last Auburn coach to leave voluntarily to take another job, only Jimmy, Frank, you and I, and other idiot savants like me know this. But it was Mike Donahue, the little Irishman who spoke Gaelic. He'd won 3 national championships at Auburn, had multiple seasons where they didn't give up a point. He left Auburn to go from $5,000 to $10,000 a year salary. He didn't have great success as a football coach at LSU. He became like the golf coach, athletic director, but they did name Mike the Tiger after him. If I'm wrong on that one, Frank, I'll buy you 2 steamer packs of Crystals and a 30 rack of Hamm's beer, and I'll come to your funeral after you ingest all that. Kevin, you're right. I love it. Just didn't work. You got to get the right fit. I mean, it just, and you got to know your audience. I'll tell you a true story. A friend of my dad's was at a dinner party with a man who was a very wealthy Memphian, very wealthy, was worth a lot of money, big company, very short, and he was very conscious about his height. And he was giving the guy, my dad's friend, a tour of his house. And that guy, when he went in there in the bedroom, in the closet, he said, he looked in there at all of his suits and everything. He said, "Boy, that's the largest collection of 42 shorts I've ever seen." That was the end of that conversation.
Yeah, I bet that was.
You got to know your audience, man. I mean,
Yes,
yes. But Kevin, you have had the privilege and the opportunity to be around these coaches, and you respect what is OTR, on the record, and what's OTR off the record. And like Frank said, Coach Dye speaking about that, Coach Bryant, I know a lot about stories about Coach Bryant from friends of mine that, and one in particular that knew him quite well. And he loved to come to Memphis, and he never forgot where he came from. And Jackie Sherrill said on our show, remember, Jimmy, his routine. Coach Bryant was up at 4 a.m, breakfast 5 o'clock at the Holiday Inn on 82. I was in Tuscaloosa last weekend, spent the weekend there in between going to the Auburn game with Dr. Waller May, the May Veterinary Clinic, Tuscaloosa and Northport since 1964. That's a plug for our great friends and sponsors. But he would go there at 6 o'clock. He's back in that office, coaches meetings, 6 to 11, strategizing, 11 to 12. Jackie Sherrill said Coach Bryant would study the stock market. 12 o'clock, he'd go to lunch at Druid City Drugs or Archibald's Barbecue. He'd sneak off to someplace.
That was when he was on his 3rd pack of Chesterfields.
Yeah, and when he got to practice, Jackie Sherrill said he was usually there 15, 20 minutes early before anybody else. And if he was singing "We Shall Gather Down by the River," it was going to be a long, hard day. And you think about Suge Jordan. I've got pictures of Suge Jordan on the sidelines of the Auburn, Georgia game at Columbus Memorial Stadium, smoking a cigarette, wearing a cutoff API sweatshirt. I mean, you talk about a guy, tough, Ralph Suge Jordan, his son's
Daniel Nalen.
I mean, hey, he'd been in North Africa. He fought Rommel there. He went to Sicily. He landed at Utah Beach, was wounded. 4 days later, went in to get help after being hit with an 88 millimeter frag from a German gun. He was the captain, I believe, and the doctor said, "Sir, why didn't you come in when you got hurt?" Suge Jordan replied, "Well, sir, I'm a combat engineer. I had a job to do. We had to build a road to get our boys up on that beach so we can win this dadgum war."
Damn right.
So after the war, they took Suge Jordan back to Fort Lewis out in Seattle, Tacoma, Kevin. They were decommissioning a unit, and his wife had bought a brand new car, drove out there to see him and get him, and he volunteered to go to Okinawa. She had to drive back by herself in that car across the country. Wow. And Ralph Jr. said, to the day she died, my mother never forgave the United States government for that. But you talk about tough people, Kevin, and we're going to get back. We got a few more minutes if you can stay with us. Your ability to connect us with those people, the history, the traditions, the heroes. You write about these people and you respect the game, you respect what you do, and you respect your craft. I want to get back and just, again, let you talk, get your thoughts on where we are in college football, because this is turning into an incredible season. You can say what you want about NIL. You can say what you want about the portal, but by God, this is the greatest game in America. This stuff matters, and you got to get the right people in there. And if you're an Auburn fan, hey, it's always darkest before dawn, but I'm starting to see the sun coming up, and it's orange and blue. More after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rapid fire roundtable going on. Kevin Scarbinsky, Birmingham. Jimmy Hodge up in Lake Zurich, Illinois. Frank Duffy down in Naples? You down there with Thurston Howell, the 4th and the 5th? Look like you're having a nice setup down there on the beach. Kevin and Jimmy, you got to see Frank. I think he's trying to put George Plimpton, the ultimate bon voyant, out of a job. But Kevin, I'm getting really fired up when I talk about college football and where we are now. But you're seeing it, and I love the stories. You know, it matters what they do at Auburn and Alabama, but it also matters what they do at every other school. If it's Troy, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, UAB, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, that's what we love about college football. And if you're an A&M fan, you don't like hearing this, but App State going on the road and doing what they did and then going back and winning on a Hail Mary up in Boone last weekend. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, can you? College football is the greatest game in the history of the great games.
You think of what could have been last weekend for the state of Alabama, and you know, outside of Alabama and Auburn. But Troy had App State beat on one of the biggest games in Appalachian State history, and they lose on a Hail Mary. South Alabama had UCLA beat with probably fewer people in the stands than they had in Boone at the Rose Bowl. Yeah. But South Alabama had that game won, and Kane Womack tried the fake field goal, and it didn't work, and UCLA drives to the winning field goal on the last play. But you know how important football is in this state, and I got to tell you a quick story. Here's how far I go back. When I was at Troy, as you mentioned, Rob, I went to undergraduate school at Troy, got my degree in business actually there, not journalism. And I was a senior sitting in the stands watching a game. Now, Troy was D2 then. The stadium was smaller. It was an unsuccessful season. It was late in the year. There weren't many people there. And before the game, an hour before the game, I'm sitting there, and somebody came off the field and said, "Hey, we need somebody to work the chains today. Can you help us on the chain gang?" And one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, I was on the chain gang for a college football game. I think it was against Mississippi College. Again, Troy was D2 at the time. Yeah. And what an incredible experience. And the only instructions they gave us were, if that ball starts moving in this direction, don't be a hero, drop the chain, back up the way. Trust me, guys, if they faked a pitch in my direction, I was backpedaling.
Kevin, look, man, hey, this has been unbelievable. Buddy Martin's on with us now, GatorbaitMedia.com, and he's got a little bit of time, and I know you've got a lot of stuff. Buddy. Tell us about Coach Safely, and we'll let you go, and let's do this again next week. But as always, I want to thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you taking time to give to us and to our listeners, because it means the world to us.
Well, thank you guys. This is a great way to kick off my college football Saturdays, hanging out with you guys. Yeah, go to CoachSafely.org. Find out more about how your children's, this is for parents, how your children's youth coaches, it could be football, basketball, softball, soccer, whatever they play. This is a course in injury recognition and prevention put together by the likes of Dr. James Andrews, if you're worried about the credibility of the course. And it is no charge to people in the state of Alabama. So go to CoachSafely.org, take that course, keep those kids safe, and you can read me twice a week in the lead. It's Birmingham Lead, LEDE.com. Check it out. We'll be talking a lot of college football. You guys have a great day, and I think we're gonna have a pretty exciting Saturday. Have fun up there in Knoxville, buddy. See you guys.
All right, thank you so much. Here we go now. We're heading down to Ocala. That's not the swamp. That's horse country. Limestone and that soil down there makes it the greatest horse country in the world. You talk about a great one, man. Got relatives all over Alabama preaching the gospel going back in history. And I got a lot of my friends MJ and the crowd at the Cherry Farm go, I love it when Buddy Martin comes on because he's like the coach. He comes in, he goes, all right, everybody, all right, listen up. Here we go. Buddy Martin, GatorbaitMedia.com, the Buddy Martin Show, Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. on Facebook, Twitter. Sign up for it. When it comes on, you get a quick Twitter ding. You go on there, and it's about an hour plus of some of the best true grit journalism. Hey, if you're a journalist, you should watch it for continuing education. Buddy Martin, let's go. Buddy, are you there?
Good morning, buddy.
All right, buddy. Buddy's working on those technical difficulties.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you right there. I thought we were going to have Mildred come on there and go, hey, how are you?
Yeah, somebody muted me there. Yes, so I'm here. As you can see behind me, got a lot going on in Knoxville today. Our guys are up we got two of our guys up there. Franz Beard and I and my fellow editor, Carlton Reese, are here getting ready to pounce on the story and pound it out tonight. And we got Lauren Meadows, he's up there, and he's at game day somewhere in that crowd. I'm not sure exactly where.
Tuesday for Florida football.
Yeah, game day. So, yeah, it's been kind of a crazy week. We've been calling out fans. The mother of running back Trevor Etienne came out with a statement this week, and she ripped into some of the fans, and justifiably so.
Yeah.
I wrote a piece this week saying, quoting my longtime friend, Gator fan for 35 years, saying, I don't know what it is with our fan base. They beat Utah, they're going to win a national championship. They lose a game, and they're going to fire the coach.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Always extremes here and there. And, we understand the frustration of fans. We all have them. They're all the same. Gator fans have huge expectations. I appreciate that. But you got to be careful when you start getting the parents ticked off of some of your potentially star players, who, by the way, could walk out of the transfer gate tomorrow. I'd say, see ya. Well, like you guys, we talked about it on this show a lot, and it's okay to criticize, but let's be a little bit reasonable and don't be trashing players and trashing coaches. And no, we're not going to fire Billy Napier yet. I mean, he's lost the game. And then finally, just accept the fact that there are other good football teams out there, and you just beat the number 7 team in the country 3 weeks ago. So be a little patient. And yes, I understand that there is a game in Knoxville today where the Gators are a double-digit underdog. My word. Research it, though, fans. Let me just say, you Gator fans, listen up. All the great victories or upsets that Florida's had, and I've seen them since 1963 in Alabama when they beat Bear Bryant, they were always underdogs. That's what makes victory sweet. I'm actually going to pick the Gators today. I know I'm insane. Nobody else wants to pick them because I feel like Billy Napier is a good coach. I feel like the game plan will be to run the football, to run the ball and run Anthony Richardson between the tackles on quarterback power some. They've got 3 really good running backs. Their offensive line is probably the best unit on their team. Receivers, okay, not great. Defense has got to stay off the field a little more, give them a chance. They may or may not have Ventrell Miller. We'll see what happens. He's big because not only is he a good player and the best tackler, he lines people up on defense. He tells the linebackers where to be, the tackles how to split, and he's a captain on the field. So the good news for Florida, bad news for the Vols. Cedric Tillman, the terrific receiver for Tennessee, out. Not going to play. Won't take a snap. So listen, we'll see where it goes. Run the ball, keep your defense off the field. Don't turn it over. Then let Anthony hit. Can you believe that Florida is one of the 3 teams in the country?
That's crazy.
Not throwing a touchdown pass. I mean, really. Yeah. So there's a lot going on here, but fear is a funny thing, guys. Fear is a funny thing. All those years of beating Tennessee, 16 of the last 17 years, don't you know the Vol fans are scared to death? I was talking to my friend John Adams in Knoxville. He said he has a good friend. They're big Vol fans. They were up 35-0 on Akron. By the way, John said maybe the worst team I've ever seen play in Neyland. And the woman was very sad. And somebody said, why? Because I'm thinking about Florida. Don't you think the Vol fans are scared to death right now this team's going to come alive. Anthony Richards is going to find himself. Oh no, here we go again. And guys, you know what that does to a team when you beat them like a rented mule.
Y'all do live in Tennessee's head, no doubt.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the take on that part. And fear's a funny thing. Now some Gator fans got it. Vol fans have had it. Some Gator fans are out of control. So let's see where things go. Remember this: Florida will have played four ranked teams in the hardest schedule in the country. If they beat Tennessee and beaten 3 of them, okay, they'll have played 3 and beaten 2 of them. And look who has Tennessee played: Ball State, Akron. Yeah, they beat obviously a pretty good Pitt team, but without their quarterback. So I'm sorry, Tennessee is not Alabama.
Down to the third,
not Georgia. Not even sure they're LSU.
Buddy, I agree with everything you just said, but I got to correct you on one thing, and this comes from Tanner Smith and Balake from Lake Charles, 2 of our members of the Cherry Farm. Good old Cajuns from down there on I-10. Etienne, no, it is Sean. Frank, back me up on that one. So, buddy, if you want,
as long as his mama says Etienne, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, but they say it's Sean. And
Okay.
But anyway, buddy, I agree with you. And it you know what? Everybody can't be right at the same time. And what you've got to be careful of if you're Tennessee. And we're going to go to Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report with Mark Hamm and Terry up there in a few minutes, because I know you've only got a few minutes. You've got to get back because you're understaffed today because you got Gators everywhere. You know, everybody can't be right at the same time, and you're most likely to get mugged in your own driveway. Tennessee fans, be careful about thinking you're going to show up to the dinner table and have everything served for you, because these Gators are coming in edgy, okay? Now, granted, their offense, the passing game's not there, but
they have been battle tested.
Yeah, they've been tested, and buddy, I agree with you. I mean, yeah, we're getting on Auburn coaches and stuff. I'm not going after players, but I mean, obviously we know the quarterback situation is not good, but a guy like Anthony Richardson is so talented. At some point, the game's going to slow down for him, and he's going to have that breakout where all the dots connect. It's kind of like people that study accounting. You know, you don't know what you're doing. You're wandering in the wilderness for years, and then the light comes on, and you graduate from college.
It's important they get the running backs into that passing game to give them confidence.
They will.
Yeah.
By the way, Frank, I figured you must have something good going on. You're chilling under the palm tree. I figure Frank, here's what I figured out about Frank. Frank has got the concession today in Knoxville for French mustard and XL golf balls. Because you know they'll be
living a life, buddy. Living a life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jimmy, jump in here. Jimmy's on here.
Jimmy was there. Hello, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, jump in here because this game is big. I mean, we've talked about Texas A&M and Arkansas, focusing a lot on Tennessee and Florida. Try losing one. They're all big, aren't they, Jimmy?
Well, yeah, and when you've been on the short end of a losing streak like Tennessee has been against Florida, all the pressure's on you. But I think Tennessee, just from an experience standpoint, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is they're just going to be too much. I mean, Hooker's just coming off a great year. He's playing with a lot of confidence. And I think they just scored too many points. I think Florida's still in this just learning stage under Napier. It's an entire roster of players trying to pick up these new schemes. And now, they've been struggling with the passing game. And now you're playing in a hostile environment of, I guess, 102,000. 102,000 fans who are really going to be hungry to get a win here. And so the noise, I think, is going to be a big factor. And as I've said earlier, I think Tennessee's going to give Richardson some looks he probably hasn't seen on tape. Tennessee's first 3 games. So they're really going to test him. And I think the best thing that Richardson can do, in addition to all the preparation they've been going through this week, at the end of the day, and I think Napier's really good at this, is that when it comes down to it, after they snap the ball, you've got to play football. Just focus on playing football. Use your natural instincts, but you have to realize with the speed of the game, though, you have to make quick decisions and try to make sure you're confident in that decision and then kind of go from there, because you do have opportunities against that secondary, especially the corners. And I think they have to have ETN involved in the passing game. Get them out in the flat and then get the ball out into space and have some opportunities that way. But Florida must get their passing game going in order to be successful, though.
Buddy.
Yeah. Final thought, if I may give you, really. I'm going to have to run here because I got guys in Knoxville calling me. This week, Steve Spurrier was asked by somebody, how do you get confidence? You know, obviously that's a problem that Florida's quarterback Anthony Richardson has. He admitted he lost it. And here's what Spurrier said. Take a pencil or pen, a notebook, and write down CONFIDENC, fold it up and put it in your back pocket, and now you've got confidence.
Buddy, look, man, any time with you is solid gold. We told the story about Ben Hill Griffin and Swamp Cabbage and Charlie Pell, and nobody like you talking about Ashawn, and it's going to be a fun. We're going to be texting you during the game tonight, and Ben Troop and Franz Beard. But man, tell people how they can follow you. I know you got to go, but we'll get you back on for the regular.
We're going to go to that 3:30 kickoff this afternoon, and then we'll be broadcasting in the morning on our Orange and Blue Blood Network with Ben Troop and Lauren Meadows from up in Knoxville doing our show. We're on during the week, Monday through Thursdays at 9 p.m. streaming live. I'm very happy to say, if I may, that Brendan Martin has found the secret sauce. And honestly, guys, I don't like to brag. Our numbers have been through the roof the last 3 weeks. I mean, unbelievable. Because I'm proud of what he's working.
Great product.
Yeah, so appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it. Love being on with you. Have a good day and enjoy the win over the Tennessee Vols.
Hey, we're going to be watching it. It's going to be big, and we'll do this again next week on the Rapid Fire Roundtable. That is Buddy Martin, folks. Subscribe to GatorbaitMedia.com. Watch the Buddy Martin show. You will learn a lot.
Rob, this is the opportunity. If Anthony Richardson is going to grow up, this is a great opportunity, to Buddy's point, to do that.
Well, you know what's crazy is the CBS, I don't know why the schedules. If y'all noticed, the Tennessee-Florida game is the 2:30 CBS game. Okay? 3:30 Eastern. But, I mean, it was actually listed on several places. I saw it as the night game. And I was trying to say, why would we have, both those games back to back? We're going to talk about it more after this. We're going to head up to Knoxville, talk with Mark, Hamm, and Terry live from the scene of tonight's big one with Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
What you can't find a clear mason jar in East Tennessee for today's big one between Tennessee and Florida. It's going to be big. That's the 3:30 p.m. Eastern And you got to be careful looking. My dad at 94 is like, boy, I'm looking in the paper. They don't list any games. I'm like, who reads the paper? You got to go on.
I think you were looking at the Alabama Vanderbilt. That's going to be the night SEC network game.
Yeah. And Auburn, Missouri is on ESPN at 11 a.m. today. And that's the timeout game. I tell you one thing, the visiting team always has that advantage. Jump on top early, take the crowd that always gets there late out of the game before they're even entering. So much going on. And then, we've talked about a lot of games today. There are so many. I mean, Memphis doesn't have a big one. They're 2-1. They're playing North Texas State, but you've got Texas A&M, Arkansas. We talked about that. Kent State, Georgia, Missouri, Auburn. I'm going to run down this list right here. Bowling Green at Mississippi State, Florida at Tennessee, Tulsa at Ole Miss. Jimmy talks about that Tulsa quarterback, number one in the country.
Great
problem, Northern Illinois, who gave Vanderbilt all they wanted at Kentucky, Vanderbilt at Alabama, New Mexico at LSU, and Charlotte at South Carolina. Sounds like they're having a date, Charlotte's coming by the house. I'll tell y'all right now, the one outside, Texas Tech, Texas, Jimmy, you like that one. And also I'm really intrigued. I hope the neighbors don't have the blinds pulled down. God help us, so I can watch it. But Wake Forest and Clemson, that's an exciting game. I don't know what was wrong with Sam Hartman earlier in the season, but he's back. And I'm looking for a really good contest there. But Jimmy, I'm going to throw it at you. Talk about that Texas Tech game, because we better be getting used to Texas and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma under Brent Venables, talk about them too. They're coming into the SEC, and you better get ready for them, because they're going to get better playing better competition, and they've got the resources. You ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to spending money.
Yeah, and the big question is whether Quinn Ewers is going to be able to play in this game. They're playing in Lubbock, and he did travel, so he's going to dress for the game. I think it's going to be a game time decision. Yeah. And Hudson Card, they thought he wasn't going to be able to go last week against UT San Antonio, but he did and played a solid game. And had they been forced to go with the number 3 quarterback, they might have been in real danger against UT San Antonio, because that was an 11-win team last year, and they were ahead a good portion of the game last week. So it just goes to show you that no matter who you play nowadays, you can never mark a W by your name on the column.
That's right.
Or put it in the win column, because just thinking like what we were talking about last week, Kevin mentioned it, South Alabama, if they wouldn't have tried that fake field goal, they would have beat UCLA.
Yeah.
And then, the fluke play in which App State wins on the Hail Mary on the last
South Florida, Florida.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you just have, again, just these upsets that you can't imagine. I mean, nobody's even mentioned the fact that Southern Illinois beat Northwestern last week.
Yeah,
it's just crazy what you see nowadays. So you just have to be ready every single week. But I think this is a big game for Texas, though, because now it's been a couple of weeks since that great effort against Alabama. And if they can win in Lubbock, I think that'll have them on track to have a solid season and have a legitimate chance, possibly to win the Big 12. They will certainly be in the top tier. So I think this Alabama game, looking back at it, could be the spark, that really gets them to playing the type of football that their fans expect to see, combined with the fact that the Arch Manning commitment has really led to their position right now as the number 3 rated recruiting class in the 2023 cycle.
Yeah, I mean, that's big. And here's a message on here from Robert Ward, listener up in Nashville area, Middle Tennessee, says, no Cedric Tillman wide receiver tonight for the Vols, could spell disaster. But all that being said, we're going to head up to Knoxville, Rocky Top, Tennessee tailgate report. Mark and Terry up there, Mark Hamm. Let's talk about this 3:30 p.m. kickoff on the hill. Let's that atmosphere like. I'm sure you can't find a clear mason jar anywhere around, can you?
No, I've been looking for one, but I think Popcorn Sutton dropped some off earlier.
Look, man, Mark, what are y'all cooking right now? That looks really. I know. I mean, we had boudin balls for breakfast, sausage. We had pork chops. I mean, it is a pork. Give me some of that pork there, Jer. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know up in Knoxville, everybody is bouncing off the ceiling, getting ready for this contest. You and Terry up there. And Terry, how many tailgates you set up in Knoxville?
Hey guys, I'm getting set up here with my earbuds.
Okay, all right. Mark, in the meantime, let's get going. That atmosphere is incredible up there. I can hear it in the background. Talk about it. Mark, can you hear us?
I'm ready.
Well,
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Terry, how many tents you got set up on Knoxville? You talked yesterday about you don't have a lot of grassy areas up in Knoxville on the hill, but Mark said there might be 250, 300,000 people, 100,000 plus inside of Neyland Stadium, thanks to the Tennessee River. How many people are outside just milling around right now in the tailgate center?
We've probably already got that's as full as it's ever been. Probably we've probably already got 5,000 people kind of just milling around the tailgate area. There are tons of people up around. Game day, 90 tents we have set up for the tailgate's the largest tailgate we've ever done as well. So, and I heard today that there's going to be 300,000 people on campus.
I believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're going to I've been to Knoxville for a lot of games over the years, always as an Auburn fan. And that place, what did Brady Quinn's quote this week? It's so loud up there. He goes, we were playing Tennessee one time. And I told my center hadn't even snapped the ball. The ball was on the ground. He goes, the ball just moved. It was so loud. It shook the ground. How much pent-up frustration do the Tennessee fans have losing 16 of the last 17? Cedric Tillman's not going to play, but he ain't the only player that's going to wear the orange today. And right there is that crowd of some 100,000 plus rises to their feet, and the crowd goes crazy. The Pride of the Southland band comes out and forms that giant T.
It's going to be
Tennessee Vols will run on
time in Tennessee.
Yeah. How long have y'all been waiting for a moment like this? I mean, is this kind of just the pinnacle? You're waiting for Led Zeppelin to get back together. I mean, is this that big of a moment for Tennessee? How important is this game? Mark, Terry, whoever can hear me, go ahead and answer.
I can hear you. This is Terry.
Yeah.
Can you
okay.
hear me?
Can you hear?
Yeah. How big is this game? Yeah. Oh yeah, we hear you. How big is this game for the Tennessee Vol Nation to get the win today? And what would a loss do to Tennessee? I wouldn't think it would slow momentum down, but what do y'all think?
Well, I'll answer first. I think I told somebody earlier today that is going to go nuts if we lose. It's going to be heartbroken. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to tear it down. I think the momentum's still strong. I've got to go to LSU next week, so I think this is a gauntlet. You got Florida, LSU, Alabama. So if we win these next two, we go into the Alabama game undefeated. They're going to be undefeated. Then this place will really be rocking.
Yeah, Mark, your thoughts on the history, what this game means to Tennessee?
Well, I agree with Terry. I mean, we got to win. I mean, we used to win the game. I was watching Philip Fulmer this morning giving a pep talk, years ago. I can tell you we got a little rain, and we usually win in the rain up here. So, look, I mean, it's going to be one of those things. We got to throw the ball. If we can get out and get going early, I think we have a really good chance. It's hard for them to come from behind. I mean, the guy hasn't thrown a touchdown pass this year. So, he may look like a Heisman candidate today. We seem to do that sometimes with some of these Florida quarterbacks.
It's gonna be hard for them to
get out early and we can get a lead. I think we can win, especially with the crowd. The crowd is insane. Look, it's crazy out here. 10 o'clock, 10:30, and it looks like we got 90 tents. Terry's got 90 tents. Look around behind me and see.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Girl, I
Well,
ride, buddy.
Hey, Frank Duffy,
So
jump in.
I'm gonna go show you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you some grilled gator here. Let me put the camera on here.
Terry's right next to me. Terry's right now. Here we go. Like he's over here on the gator.
That's our favorite dish in Louisiana come Florida week. Ain't no doubt.
That's right.
Can you see that?
Well, yeah. That's I'm looking at it.
Hey guys, speak to this. I came up for the Georgia-Tennessee game last year, and it was a great atmosphere. There were lots of tailgates. My good buddy Jim Kelly's a big Vol fan. They've got a tailgate. I swear you could hit a pitching wedge into Neyland Stadium from where they have their tailgate. And it was excitement, but there was a wish feeling. I think today there's excitement, but there's a confidence feeling in the Vol Nation.
Terry?
Yeah, so I think everybody's confident. I think as you walk around, you talk to Vol fans, they're excited, they're confident. I mean, we're a 10.5-point favorite, I think, the last time I saw it. And it's really kind of a cool, it's not arrogance. It's sort of just kind of a cool, hey, we're going to win this game and we're going to move on to LSU.
I got to ask you one question before we go to Jimmy Hodge, who grew up in Clinton, Tennessee, right next to Knoxville. Terry, you may know this. Mark hadn't been able to get an answer. Does Smokey the Hound fly to the road games, or does he ride in a special customized van? How does he get there?
I'm guessing he drives to the SEC games, and he probably flies if they have to go too far. By the way, I'm from Clinton, Tennessee.
Okay. Jimmy, jump in here. This is Terry on here with us. Come on. Jimmy, you there?
I sure am.
Yeah.
I'm back from the old school there. I played with Larry Sievers, and by the way, I wanted to ask if what the feeling is, because last year Larry was on the finalist list for the College Football Hall of Fame, and he's on it again this year. Is the feeling that Larry's going to get selected, or has there been much talk about that?
Terry, what do you think? Yeah, Terry, I know. Yeah, Terry, Jimmy.
I haven't really heard. Larry's a friend of mine too. We do a lot of business with Larry. He owned a company here in town.
Yeah, well, he deserves to be. Yeah. I think Larry Sievers absolutely deserves.
He definitely deserves to be, no question.
Look, I grew up Terry Beasley at Auburn, Larry Sievers at Tennessee. That's what I remember. That's what made me love college football. That's what I think a great wide receiver is, along with Wes Chandler. You know, but Jimmy, jump back in, Jimmy. We have a little.
Yeah, I've got to think though that the mood is pretty confident because again, there's a reason Tennessee's a double-digit favorite because of that offense, and I got to be thinking that a loss isn't even in the mindset of the better portion of Tennessee fans because I think they do have the better team. And they've got all the intangibles. They're playing at home. The crowd's going to be
nuts,
crazy, and I just think it's going to be tough for Florida to score enough points to have a chance to win this one.
Yeah. What's the Vol Walk going to be like, guys?
Crazy.
And it's been.
This is Danielle.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing great. Just having fun watching y'all get ready for this big game. It's what we love about college football. Sidelines. That's what we do. That's who we are. And I got to think.
Hey, and I want to.
Oh my God. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, Tennessee gets the win. They're not going to be able to keep them off Shields Watkins Field tonight, guys. This afternoon. Audrey's over here got chills right now. She's a Vol for life. So, my producer and my wife. So she can say whatever she wants.
I want to show you something right here. You see the light? We're going to light the Gators up today.
I love it.
Frank, jump in here with some of your wit.
Well, I'm happy to see Tennessee back. People used to say that about LSU when we went through the doldrums in the 90s, and then we started coming back when Saban got there in 2000, and people always said, it's just more interesting in the SEC when LSU's LSU. Well, I think the same thing for Tennessee. I think the SEC is more the SEC when the Big Orange Nation is back and filling up Neyland and excited. And, look, you guys kind of got to be the whipping boy there for a little bit with, the mustard bottles and everything. I'm happy when Tennessee's back. And frankly, it does good for us in the West when you guys are competing against Georgia and Florida and having more balance. It's much better for us on the other side.
Yeah. See if y'all can get a win against Alabama. We only got a couple minutes left. Yeah. Terry, the growth of tailgating in college football. You started this about 10 or 12 years ago when things weren't so good. You've hung in there. It's getting bigger and bigger, isn't it?
It is. It's growing every year. We had to go through a couple of coaching changes, as everybody's aware of. Yeah. But at the end of the day, today's the largest one we've ever had. The momentum is strong. And people are excited. And we've watched the tailgates evolve too. So it used to be people just showed up and cooked a little bit of this, that. Now there's grills everywhere. There's gator everywhere. There's full bars, bartenders. You guys know what it is. So it's a great Saturday.
Well, look, we're winding up here. I will say this. For all the people a couple of years ago that were forecasting the end of college football, fans will find other things to do. I totally disagreed. So did Jimmy. So did Frank. So did Mark. So did anybody that's not a living brain donor. But looking at what we're seeing on campus, I am so happy for y'all, the growth, the tailgating. And it ain't, you know what? Cost is only an issue in the absence of any added value. What you do up there to provide that game day atmosphere, thumbs up to you, man. To everybody, all of our listeners, all of our sponsors, great ones like Gateway Tire and Service Centers, we go the distance for our customers and the communities where we are. Get ready for a great day of college football. Remember the movie Kingpin when Woody Harrelson, Roy Munson told Ishmael Borg, get ready for a ride you'll never forget. It's going to be a great one. We're going to talk about it when we resume on Monday. Go out and help somebody with the expectation of getting nothing in return. Don't give to get, give to give. Most often see the face of Christ in the least among us. And I'm going to tell you something. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we get that freedom because people in our military that fight for us give us that right. Go out and buy them around today. High five them, give them a hug, tell them thank you. Until then, everybody, be safe. We'll be back Monday. Have a great weekend. We're out of here.
Well,